Hi everyone, this is your astrologer Hassan Jaffer with another analysis of Dimash's chart. I did the chart with 7:30 a.m. last time, and someone pointed out that it could be 7:30 p.m. And I think the 7:30 p.m. does make more sense. So here's the chart analysis for that. Now, here was a chart that we did previously, and we still have certain things in common. And I'd assume, that Leo being the third house is communication. And Leo is a very dramatic aspect, but he's not really as dramatic, as intense and with feelings and with that healing voice. And the 12th house didn't make sense because that's more like a scientist, so even though he may be deep in his thinking, etc. But the only thing is that planets would have been coming up, which is very positive for him. Now, if we take 7:30 p.m., this chart becomes very different. Now he has Scorpio rising as opposed to Gemini rising, and there are certain things which change here. The most important one being the third house. Now, one of the apps that I've made for the singing, that you can tell if somebody has the potential or is talented in singing, you see the Mercury aspects, plus also you see the third house. Now he still has the same Mercury-Venus conjunction. And of course, Venus in Cancer gives this patriotic aspect about him, and he's very much about Kazakhstan and the culture, etc. That's all that Venus in Cancer. And interestingly, Donald Trump also is born with Venus in Cancer. That's where the patriotic side also comes in. Now, Mercury being in the sign of Gemini, that's what gives him that agility and the versatility, and he can go from one range to another range in all these octaves with a complete smooth transition. So Mercury, Venus beautifies the voice, I've mentioned before, like Celine Dion and Elvis Presley and all these people were born with that. But the most important thing now that we see is the third house. So here we have Pisces in the third house. The planet which rules the sign of Pisces is Neptune. So either Neptune in the third house, which he also has. So he has Neptune in the third house of communication, which gives us healing tone to the voice, and also Pisces there. It's very much like Mercury in Pisces, like what Geely had, or Celine Dion has Mercury in Pisces. So Dimash has Mercury in the sign of Gemini, but Pisces in the third house, which has a sort of similar connotation to it. And Pisces is more of the pathos. There's a certain aspect of sadness, and his voice brings tears to many people's eyes. And very much like that Avatar, and that's a Piscean theme in his chart. Now, another very interesting thing happens here. When you have Uranus in the sign of Pisces, like Mozart, and they were born with that aspect, and it's an inventiveness when it comes to music. Now, Neptune rules the sign of Pisces. This for astrologers, actually, so that they can understand the technical part of it. So Uranus is close to Neptune. Uranus adds the brilliance to it, and it's the sign of Capricorn. Now, the Capricorn is a heavy, like a cello. It's a very mature type, and many people said he's like a 60-year-old in a 24-year-old body. So he's very mature for his age. That's a Capricorn theme in his chart, and Neptune being the sign of Capricorn. So Uranus gives inventiveness, and also where he can just take it to different heights. Uranus is well aspected to Moon. This is the visual perception in his chart, and so you can visualize the notes probably. Now Pluto, Moon conjunction Scorpio, actually that's what I believe Lady Gaga has that also. The Moon Pluto conjunction in Scorpio, in the first house, first of all, having Scorpio gives it a certain magnetism and like a Bruce Lee theme. Remember I was saying that in the last one also, he reminds me of Bruce Lee to some extent. So that's a Scorpio Sagittarius. Bruce Lee was a Sagittarius with Scorpio planet. So in his personality, he's very much like that, very deep, very secretive. And this is the hidden aspect about his personality, and also very much into self-mastery. It's all the Scorpio theme. But the philosophical aspect, constantly learning and constantly improving himself, that's the Sagittarius part. But this Moon-Pluto conjunction indicates a complete change in his whole thinking about life, death, God, all that aspect. He was born very close to the full moon, actually, just before the full moon. Because moon, as soon as it went to Sagittarius, in a few hours, it opposed that sun sign, which gives a certain aspect of mission too. It also indicates it's an out of sign square to moon. People may not see that, but it is. It's 11 and 6. So it's 17 degrees off, but I would actually take it because that gives a sort of that poker face, and he doesn't show his emotion on the outside, and gives a certain amount of emotional toughness. So very much into the self-power here. He's got to be careful of his health actually, and make sure that he drinks water when he's thirsty, because that Scorpio theme indicates too much of that self-control and the need for the power. He has a lot of the Scorpio theme in his chart. First of all, with that moon in Scorpio, when you can go beyond your normal range. And he has also Mercury and Venus both in the 8th house. 8th house is Scorpio house also. So it does give that connotation to it. It increases the depth in a person also. That Mars in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus is the ear, nose, and throat. And Mars gives a power. This is a new thing for us actually. We haven't seen that much, but it'll be interesting to check all the top singers to see how much of that aspect that they have. But normally with Mars aspect to Mercury gives the power, the force to the voice as well. He actually has a sextile between Mars and Mercury. So it's an out of sign again, and it's 5 degrees. So it's definitely within orb. So there's a 6-degree angle between Mars and Mercury, sextile. So Mars gives a force to his voice. Venus beautifies the voice. Neptune gives a healing tone to the voice along with that Pisces here. And Capricorn gives us depth and maturity. And Moon gives us, it's almost like a teasing aspect. You know, he starts out slow and then it goes into a real climactic aspect of it. And very high notes. Jupiter being the 12th house is a very good protection for his health actually, and the Jupiter-Mars gives a physical energy and physical drama. You know, this sudden burst of energy, as I've mentioned before, the Olympic athletes are born with that. He still has that, of course, that Jupiter-Venus aspect is an incredible wealthy aspect to have, and people who make millions, they are born with that aspect actually. Mars-Venus gives a certain amount of passion, very much a family person also, and the Venus-Saturn-Jupiter grand trine gives a lot of that empathy, compassion, feeling, sensitivity, along with that Pisces in the 3rd house. In his voice, he's able to project that even more. The only thing is, by transit, the planets would be coming down now. If this is the right time of birth, then if I take this birth time to see where the planets are now, so if I put the time birth, planets for now, as you can see, all the planets, instead of being on the top, now suddenly Saturn is at the very bottom of the chart in the 2nd house. And normally people retire at this time. So when the planet's at the very bottom, 2 things he's got to be careful that he does not exert his voice too much, that he shouldn't keep on doing this extreme, like the 6 octaves on every concert, but that'll be a little too much for the vocal cords. Other thing is that, you know, when the events that happen in a person's life, which make them want to just go away from the public. So when people start keeping a low profile, that's when planets are down. So my advice would be to do as many albums as possible right now. And in the next 5 years, he'll be building all this foundation, the groundwork. Then when he starts coming up again, then it'll go on for many, many years. It's a 29-year cycle actually. But Saturn's about to start going down in his charts. It's got to be in about 2.5 years. His parents have to be more careful of their health when the planet's at the very bottom. But next year is fantastic. 2020 is when Jupiter touches off that moon, which is very good for family reunions and quite often any relocation is that also. I saw in his mother's hand there was a fork at the end of the lifeline, which normally indicates that there's an immigration theme. So she might settle in Europe or in States, for example. Probably Europe would be a better thing for them. So there are 2 different charts. If it was 7:30 in the AM, then his planets would all be coming up for the next several years. If it's 7:30 PM, then he would go into a bit of a hiding almost mode, that he doesn't really want to come out in public as much. Now he can still be, of course, extremely popular on the internet, etc., but rather than performing all the concerts. So next year would be one of the last years for this incredible amount of public response because of Jupiter touching off his moon. Then when the planets are down, you've got to make all that publicity now. So by 2020, because after 2020, he'll tend to keep a low profile for a few years. If you like our analysis, do subscribe. And you can also suggest any other singers if you like. We wish Dimash all the best and all the success in the world. He has made many people extremely happy around the world, and it's like a blessing to have. You know, when you listen to his voice, it's very healing. It makes sense with that Pisces theme. So this is the horoscope analysis of Dimash, and it's your astrologer Hassan Jaffer. If you'd like to visit our site, you can go to astrotrends.net.